These are some frequently asked questions about sponsored bills in the state of California. First, what's the difference between an author and a sponsor? Note in Congress, the term sponsor is the name of the federal legislator whose name is on the bill. On the other hand, in the California legislature, the legislator whose name is on the bill we call the author rather than the sponsor. So, what's a sponsor in the legislature? A sponsor refers to the individual or group who brought the bill idea or the bill language to the legislator, who in turn agrees to author the measure on behalf of that individual or group. Our Office of Legislative Counsel, in her glossary of terms, says that a sponsor is the legislator, private individual, or group who developed a piece of legislation and advocates its passage. Now, what's the criticism of sponsored bills? The claim is that legislators and legislative staff do not fully understand the contents of a sponsored bill, or that the sponsor gets to call all the shots related to the sponsored bill. However, these critics appear to seriously misunderstand the California legislative process. Now, what are some examples of bill sponsors? Legislators sometimes solicit bill ideas from individuals or groups. Some have there ought to be a law contest, or they get those ideas from other means. Now, legislators, of course, are expected to be responsive to their constituents and community groups and other organizations. All of these are examples of sponsors who bring forth ideas for legislation to be considered by the legislature. Who reviews bills regarding their content and form before their introduction in the legislature? Now, whether the sponsor brings forth just an idea for a bill or the sponsor drafts all of the language needed for the bill, ultimately, the attorneys in the Office of Legislative Counsel draft all bills and amendments for consideration by legislators. What are some of the tasks that an author's office will do even with a sponsored bill? They complete the committee background materials, they write talking points and committee statements and floor statements, they solicit groups to support the measure, they deal with opposition to the bill, they work with committee, floor, leadership staff, they advocate for the bill with staff and other legislators in both houses. They also respond to public inquiries, press inquiries. They write news releases. They handle all the paperwork to process that bill as it travels through the legislative process. How do you find out if a bill is sponsored? Most often, the author's fact sheet or backgrounder lists the sponsor and often the contact information for that sponsor or the sponsor's group. And sponsors are usually listed in policy committee analyses so that legislators and the public know who brought forth the bill for that particular legislator.